Beautiful sexy queen. Ugly, with a strange, ugly nose. A white blonde with colored eyes. Brunette with thick recovery. A woman with endless lust. And a desire that cannot be satisfied. An example of unlawful love. And she ruled by sex. A lover who is loyal to him. She married her brother and killed her sister. An honorable queen. Has been wronged by history. She has wronged the Egyptians and their return. She has honored Egypt and honored her people. Queen of Queens Cleopatra. We tell you the story of Cleopatra and the story of ancient Egypt under her rule. Based on documentaries and history written by humans and inherited by humanity more than 2,000 years ago. And we will show you her face and shape as if it is a reality that you see with your eyes today as portrayed by artificial intelligence. We will also delve into the smallest details of her life in order to reach a rational judgment on the queen who transformed history, historians, writers, and writers in general into an owner who hates his fallen, or is extra in love with a queen that the world has not known like her. Today, a great controversy returns, after the Egyptians were angry at his attempt to portray her in a movie for Netflix. Brunette, so who is Cleopatra really? Cleopatra is the queen of ancient Egypt, and one of the most famous rulers in history. Cleopatra's tragic life story inspired many writers, especially Shakespeare, which made him put it in his play. Cleopatra's family spent her life in Egypt for more than 100 years before Cleopatra was born in about 69 BC. It is always mentioned in all of the stories and legends about the tragic life story of Cleopatra, which inspired a number of writers to write it in their books, films and plays. Cleopatra has become one of the well-known ancient Egyptian characters. Early years of Cleopatra's life. Cleopatra is the queen and the last ruler of the Macedonian dynasty. Cleopatra VII was born in about 69 BC. It established a line of rule in 323 BC, after the death of Alexander the Great, and ended with the annexation of Egypt by Rome. Cleopatra's father was King Ptolemy XII, while little is known about Cleopatra's mother, but some speculation assumes that she was the sister of her father, Cleopatra v. Tryphena. There is also debate surrounding Cleopatra's race. At a time when it was long held to believe about Greek origin, some speculated on the lineage of African lions. In 51 BC, Ptolemy XII died, leaving the throne to 18-year-old Cleopatra and her 10-year-old brother Ptolemy XIII. It is likely that the siblings married the two, as was the custom at the time. Over the next few years, Egypt struggled with a number of issues, from an unhealthy economy to floods to famine. Soon after, power weakened due to the emergence of complications between Cleopatra and Ptolemy XIII. In the end, Cleopatra fled to Syria, and it is said that she gathered an army to defeat the opponent in order to declare the throne for herself. In 48, she returned to Egypt with the military force to confront her brother at Varama. Mark Antony. In 41 BC, Mark Antony, part of the second triumvirate that ruled Rome after the murder of Caesar, was sent for Cleopatra so that he could answer some questions about her loyalty to the leader of the fallen empire. Cleopatra granted his request, and made a lavish entrance in the city of Tarsus. Fascinated by her beauty and personality, Antony fell into an affair with Cleopatra, with whom she had 3 children, including twins named Alexander Helios Cleopatra Selene. Cleopatra VII, the Queen of Egypt, who competed with the goddess of beauty among the Greeks, Aphrodite, to become an icon of beauty in her era, which was captured by the most important rulers of the ancient world. The legend of Cleopatra VII crowded out female legends that the ancient world sanctified, including Queen Zenobia, the warrior who challenged the Roman Empire, by invading her lands and overthrowing her control in the Levant and Egypt, and Queen Nefertiti, who challenged the priests of Amun-Ra with the support of her husband, Akhenaten, in establishing a new religion based on the unification of the gods in one god. Cleopatra character. The legendary beauty remained the talk of dreamers who embodied her in their novels and paintings in the Renaissance and modern times, and to this day Cleopatra's identity is still a matter of debate, as the majority emphasized her Greek Macedonian roots, while others saw that her origins were African, that she became an Egyptian queen and the last of the Ptolemaic dynasty, and that she the first to rule Egypt and speak the language of its people, not the language of its ancestors, Ptolemaic Greece. Therefore, we are not surprised that Cleopatra, despite the Roman smear campaigns that ruled Egypt, remained a beloved and sacred goddess worshipped by the Egyptians during 300 years. Everyone tried to evoke the spirit of Cleopatra through the books of historians who talked about her irresistible charm and the submission of powerful warriors in front of her legendary presence. The throne of Alexander the Great. Cleopatra tried to be inspired by the dream of Alexander the Great to establish an empire that brings together the civilizations of the ancient world, and she believed in the ability of the Egyptians to make that glory, so she loved this people, but her husband and brother Ptolemy XIII refused to share with him the rule of Egypt, and expelled her to Syria, and there she met a legendary hero who dreamed if she shares her dream of establishing the glory of Alexander the Great, especially since the status of Persia was a goal for him, as did Alexander. And when she heard that her hero was hosting her brother in Alexandria, she asked her servant Apollodorus to smuggle her to the royal palace with a secret plan to deceive the spies of the capital by putting her in bed covers. He was named Caesarion. Julius Caesar returned to Rome with Cleopatra's mind and feelings of love, trying to convince Rome to crown him as king in fulfillment of Alexander the Great's prophecy that the defeat of the Persians could only be achieved at the hands of a king. But the Roman Senate's hatred of the position of king and their fear of the power of Julius Caesar, the leader who made a Roman empire, made them plan to assassinate him, claiming the victory of democracy. During the assassination of Caesar, Cleopatra was preparing Egypt for an empire by liquidating her opponents on the throne of Egypt and placing Ben Caesar as crown prince, but the dreams evaporated after news confirming the assassination of her hero, but Cleopatra's personality refused to be broken, so she thought of Caesar's student Antonio, who appointed him as ruler of the eastern states of Rome, to form a political alliance. Cleopatra VII kept on her way, attracting the attention of Antony, so she traveled to his seat of rule in Tarsus in Asia Minor, in the year 41 BC, dressed as the Greek goddess of love Aphrodite, on board a golden boat decorated with purple sails and silver oars. Cleopatra's end. The tragic end of the Egyptian queen made her a hero in the eyes of the Egyptians and the peoples who fell at the feet of the Roman soldier, as she is the only queen in the ancient world that challenged Rome and sought the independence of her people and her homeland, which made Octavius, after his defeat of the Egyptian queen, think of a propaganda method to distort that queen. Today, after more than 2,000 years, the world is still looking into the secrets of the Egyptian queen. Hollywood cinema found richness in the story of the Queen of Egypt, and Hollywood chose the heroine of the movie Superwoman, Gal Gadot, to embody the character of the Queen of Egypt in an upcoming historical movie. The magic of the queens of the ancient world and their stories cannot be forgotten. It is a source of inspiration for women leaders around the world who think of turning to them to learn and benefit from their experiences.